Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming to attend this presentation. Today we will have a presentation by Dr. Subrato Kuri. Dr. Kuri is a visiting scholar here at the School of Agriculture and Environment. He's working with Dr. Marit Kragt, and he is an associate professor at Bangladesh Agricultural University, where he has worked as a lecturer and associate professor from 2013 to 2021. He received his PhD from Virginia Tech University in the US. He has been working in various research projects and published several research articles. Today he will present his research.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much to be here and share your time with me. So this is the title of my presentation. So before starting the presentation, like the core part, I want to share some general background of aquaculture status in Bangladesh. So over the last decade, aquaculture has expanded intensely and mechanically in Bangladesh. So you'll be delighted to know that Bangladesh is now third in inland capturing the fish species, as well as ranked fifth in world for the aquaculture fish productions. So this is the current scenarios, but there is a huge issue regarding the antibiotics and gas reducers used in the fish fish farms used by the farmers. So in many developing countries like Bangladesh, it's a widespread problem that farmers who are using them, they don't have any idea like how much and what the extent they should use the antibiotics and gas reducers. At the same time, the indiscriminate use of those gas reducers, it causes the huge loss of the water qualities and reducing the aquatic flora and fauna of the water bodies of our country. At the same time, it deposited in the ecosystem, going to our food chain and destroying our human health and other animal health. So at the same time, there is a few studies which showed that the farmers in our country has very limited knowledge on using those aqua drugs, especially the antibiotics and gas reducers. So in this study, I also do the survey with the different fish companies and the other feed companies, like what are the major aqua drugs are now using, especially the aqua drugs, antibiotics and gas reducers using in Bangladesh. So my overarching research question was like, what was the level of knowledge of the Pangas fish farmers to ensure aquatic use of antibiotic and gas reducers in fish health management? And to explore the overarching research question, I have identified three specific research questions, which are like, what are the demographic characteristics? Because demographic characteristics of the farmers has a huge and direct correlation with the the knowledge of the farmers. Then at the same time, I want to see what is the level of knowledge, like actually what is right now in our country, and at the same time, what are the demographic factors that impact those knowledge level of the farmers to use the antibiotics and gas reducers. And if I tell the significance of this study addressed 5 sustainable development goals of UN, like of course, if the farmer can use the adequate number and the proper dose of the antibiotics and gas reducers, they can get better farm and fish health, and they can boost up their production. So that will connect it to the no poverty and zero hunger as well. At the same time, it also address the responsible consumption and production, and it also help in the climate action to combat the climate change, and finally, it also address the below life of the below water bodies. So these are the 5 key SDG goal that addressed through this study. And this is the theoretical framework of my study. So I used the innovation decision model of the Rogers as a theoretical framework of my study, but I didn't use the whole framework. I only used the knowledge, the first element of the theoretical framework, like in my rest of the study. And you see that the knowledge is impacted by the socio-economic characteristics, different personality variables, and communication behavior of a certain people. So that's why if you see the later on, I'll show you my conceptual framework, but knowledge. So before that, no one classified, sorry.
Yes, just minimize the little box in the corner. It's hiding hiding some of your.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, sir.
All right, okay.
Thank you for your comment. So, and the knowledge, the knowledge is very widespread, and the thing like it's kind of, I would say, people have defined knowledge in different ways, like it could be formal, it could be informal, it could be non-formal, different ways. But I found the Carter classification is very relevant to my work because Carter classified the knowledge in four different ways. That he also proposed the modified Bloom's taxonomy. So factual knowledge, conceptual knowledge, procedural knowledge, and metacognitive knowledge. So if someone have to have a better knowledge on something, they should have all these ideas regarding a certain issues. So that's why I classified the knowledge of the farmers in four different ways and try to see how they have get the better like facts and figures of the antibiotics and gas reducers, do have better concept on these issues, like how to use them, like do they know how to use them in a proper way, and finally metacognitive knowledge, like what would be the outcome of their that this kind of implication, what is their awareness regarding these issues. So in that way, if you can see, this is the conceptual framework of my study, where I found 12 independent variables through literature review that has direct significant relationship with knowledge, and then I categorized them. So in case of personality variables, I selected age, education, experience, and training on aquaculture. Socio-economic, their annual income, farm, access to credit, operating season, fish, like fish feeding, pond management, and disease occurrence, and finally communication. How the extension people, like the DOF, Department of Fisheries, have the communication with them. So if they have the better knowledge on these four items, like of the antibiotics and gas reducers, then it will help them to have a better persuasion of the knowledge, which will help them to take the better decision, and finally they can implement that farm nicely, and ultimately we can get the same, the Pangas fish, because Pangas is now widely consumed in my country for the, I would say, the like especially the middle income and lower middle income people as the major source of protein. Like it's very cheap. It's only like $1 kilo. You can get a huge of fish, size of fish, and you can enjoy them. So it's very popular. Not only that, if I say the methodology, in the methodology, I will explain like why I selected Pangas and why the study location. So it's of course conducted in Bangladesh, and it's a small Upajala Porishad that is called Trishal, and from the Trishal there is a smaller union portion that is called Boiler. And this is the rationale for site selection, because out of 64 districts, Mymensingh district has produced the highest percentage of Pangas in 2018 and 19 fiscal year. At the same time, whenever we visited to the Department of Fisheries, like district fisheries officer, like in a such country like Bangladesh, it's very tough to get very exact data, like at the Upajala level or very lower unit. So what we did, we go and talked with the chief of the district fisheries office, like what is your best Upajala among your district? It's kind of sub-district, like they are producing more Pangas fish, and he recommended us to visit the Turishal Upajala because this is the highest amount of Pangas producing of that district. And then we went back to the sub-district level, I mean Upajala level, chief of the office, and he told us that we should visit to the Boiler Union because that union is produced highest amount of Pangas across the year. And why Pangas? Like there are different and many fish species in Bangladesh, but why I selected Pangas? Because this is like 12.31%. This is the highest fish. This is the fish which has been cultivated the highest percentage than the other fish in our country. Like the next one is the koi and rui. But this is the different fish. So that's why I selected Pangas. I didn't select other fish. So population and sample. So all Pangas fish farmers of the Boiler Union was the population of my study. Then we visited to the local extension agent for the fisheries, that is called LEAF. Like how many Pangas fish farmers are there? Because Upajala fish doesn't have a database, like these farmers are doing the Pangas. So that guy gave us the information, like there is 87 Pangas fish farmers of that certain union portion. Then from that 87 fish farmers, we just like used SurveyMonkey tool with the 95% confidence level and 5% marginal error, and we found that 72 is our sampling level. So, and we found that 72 people from the randomized sampling tool of the Microsoft Office Excel, and we communicated each one of them, and everyone had responded to our survey. So research instrument development and validation. So I have identified 12 variables during literature review, as I mentioned you before, and then I have drafted the interview schedule and discussed with my other research team members, like how they find with it. Then I go for the pilot survey. So I took 6 farmers from my 87 sampling frame out of the 72 who were selected before, and I ran the data and found the Cronbach value is 0.905. It means like my research instrument has got the highly internal consistency, because that 24 question that I developed on the 4 knowledge level, no, I didn't find anything like that before. So I had to develop it and validate it on my own context. And during the pilot survey, I also asked to my respondent, like, do you have any other suggestion to edit the questionnaire or anything? They said no, they're fine with that. And measurement of the farmer knowledge, like as I told you before, like I divided the knowledge in 4 level. Then 24 open-ended structured question was formed according to the 4 dimension of the knowledge. At the same time, I assigned 2 points for each correct answer, 1 for the partial correct answer, and 0 for the wrong answer. So total score could be 0 to 48. And I also categorized the score like this, like low knowledge 0 to 16, moderate knowledge 17 to 32, and fair 33 to 48. And ethical clearance before conducting the study. I also got the ethical clearance from the Bangladesh Agricultural University Research System, research regulatory body. Moreover, I also take the oral consent during conducting my survey, like are they giving my consent to use the data for publication and other things. And no identifying marks I have put any of my reports, so that someone can go and trace my respondents. So these are the ethical consideration I maintained from my study. And methods of data collection, I using the survey method to conduct my structured interview, and it was done in January. And each survey was extended up to 30 minutes, and then collected data were put in Microsoft Office Excel and subsequently in SPSS for further analysis. So for the descriptive statistics, I used frequency, number, percent, mean, and standard deviation. And for inferential statistics, I did the correlation and regression. And before conducting the correlation and regression, I also did the assumption test, and all the assumption are fulfilled. Then I go for the regression test. So the major findings, what are the demographic characteristics of the farmers? So it's a long table, very long, like it's go for 2 slides. But if you see it, like most of my respondents, they are like youngest to middleist. Education, their education is up to higher secondary level, I mean year 12. Their annual income, the fish farmers in my country is a bit rich rather than the crop farmers are compared to the crop farmers. Like fish and livestock farmers, they need a huge amount of the like initial costing and other things. So they are a bit rich. But their annual income is like up to 400K. That is the highest level I put. And their annual income from the fish culture, that is also like low to medium, and like all are equally distributed. Then experiences. So most of my Pangas fish farmers are low to medium experienced, and they are training on antibiotics. No one got like around 82% people has no training on how to using the antibiotics and gas reducers in the Pangas fish farming. Then access to credit, they have very no to low access to the credit, and extension media contact low to moderate. And total farm area, the fish, there's a very big fish they used to cultivate the Pangas, culture the Pangas fish. So it's kind of small to medium in hectare. And operating season, they operated them for 12 months. So they never rested their pond for, to regenerate it or something like that. They just do it for the whole year. And disease occurrence, most of the fish farm are the disease affected, around 80% of them. And in case of my second objective, like determine the level of the farmer's knowledge. So I found that most of my farmers are poor to moderate knowledge. They process that knowledge with the mean value 26.28, which is categorized at the moderate knowledge level. And in the next slide, if I show you like how they're distributed in 4 different levels. of the like knowledge according to them, like they got only factual knowledge like 5.95, conceptual average is 7.46, procedural 6, and metacognitive 6.56. So it indicates that they have very limited knowledge on like what is the basic facts about antibiotics and gas reducer, how it works. But they got better concept, like if I use this, then my fish farm will be fine or something like that. They have better procedural knowledge compared to factual knowledge because they know, like they used it regularly. And metacognitive level, it like, yeah, they are a little bit like they are using it for few years, so they're fine with that. So in my objective 3, if I show you the correlation, you will find the annual family income, income from Pangas fish culture, received of training received on antibiotics and gas reducers, extension media contract, fish feeding, especially the mixed antibiotics in fish before feeding, and pond management has a significant positive relationship with the dependent variables. And in the regression, like linear regression, I found that like age, education, annual income, experience, training, extension media contact, and feeding, especially mixed antibiotic before preparing the foods, and finally pond management has same kind of relationship with my dependent variables. So what does it mean? If I conclude my study in a way, like most of my participants of the study had moderate knowledge regarding the use of aqua drugs and antibiotics, like gas reducers. And the survey participant had better knowledge on conceptual dimension of the knowledge, followed by metacognitive, procedural, and factual. So factual knowledge, they got very low in my ranking. So I can say that the respondent was not, like, I'm not satisfied with the knowledge level they got. Like these, like categories to poor to medium, it's not high knowledge according to my research. And the correlation I found, like certain variables like annual income, training on aquaculture, extension, media contact, mixed antibiotics in feed, and pond management had significant positive relationship. So these mention, the above mentioned factors may play important role in increasing or decreasing the knowledge on using antibiotics and gas reducers. And from regression, I can also say that like certain variables which are found significant during my study, they might impact their knowledge, like if we can intervene those factors nicely in our study place, then their knowledge can be enriched and we can have better production without antibiotics and gas residues in my fish mass. And policy implication, I'd say like extension practitioners should take different educational and training programs in factual dimension on using antibiotics and gas reducers. Extension practitioners should also work with the farmers with the low experience and age, as they found significant relationship with the knowledge. And knowledge building, different educational activities like formal and non-formal education and training sessions should be conducted by the local office of the DFOs and NGOs. And DFOs should work with the farmers with low family incomes, because you saw that like farmers with the significantly like negative relationship with the annual income and the knowledge. So if the DFO can go and work with the farmers with a low family income, then they might do better, because it is an assumption in my country, like the extension agent and the government extension body, they are aligned to be connected with the farmers with has more money and like kind of rich farmer. So the poor farmers, their voice has been ignored. And GFO should also strengthen their communication with the local fish farming communities, as extension media contact has a positive relationship with the Pangas fish farmers. So there are also some limitations of my study. I should include more context, not only in the the certain place of the Mymensingh. I can go other district who is ranked second or third. Maybe someone could do that. I could include more independent variables, as I used only 12. Those are my literature helped me to find those. Then we can include other elements of my theoretical frameworks. Like I only used working with the knowledge dimension. So I could use the persuasion, confirmation, the decision, other things. I could include other disease susceptible fish species like koi, or that is called other catfish with Pangas, and I could include other aqua drugs, without along with only antibiotics and gas reducers. Like there are many types of aqua drugs are using in our country, but I only selected these two. So these are the major limitations of my study. An acknowledgement, I must acknowledge that GFO Mymensingh and Upajala Fisheries Office Trishal, my study participant, research team members, and the AARES of the BAU who helped me to conduct this study. And that's all my study. Thank you so much.
Just to go back, I may not have picked this up. So is the overarching issue the problem that they're not using these treatments? Or is it that they're using too much? I'm trying to get the bigger picture context.
They are using too much without knowing it. Like what is the dose they should use in the field, for the fish farming?
So do you have a measure of the quantity that these farmers are using? Is that one of the things you didn't pick up, the level of use of?
We did it because they didn't keep any database. That's the issue. Like if you ask the farmers, they will give you the record data, and from record data, I don't think that I could bring some valid conclusion. That's why I omitted that, because if they need any chemicals, they go to local, shop and ask them like, hey, my fish farm is not doing good. Do you have anything to suggest? So the vendor, especially the shoppers, they give them the certain amount of the chemicals. They bring it and put it in the field. So that's the technique they're using. So they didn't have any database.
If I can keep going on my line of thought, if you go to that, if you go to the regression results.
Yes, sir.
Then the feeding, so they can mix the antibiotic. We assume that everybody is using this stuff.
Yeah.
It's the assumption. So there's a variable there for mixing it in the feed before. What's the alternative? What's the baseline?
They can use it like it's not about they can use it after applying the feeds, but most of them they use it as a feed. They mix it with the feed and apply it to the pond, and so the fish can eat it.
So the alternative, you just drop it into the water.
Yeah, or there is some other techniques, but we use that term because we found that most of the farmers, they are supposed to they mix them in the feed, because they believe that if they mixed it with feed, and Pangas is very much, like, what would I say, like vicarious feeder. They came and eat all the food, so it will go nicely in their food system, and they will be doing good. So that is their perceptions. So if they added it to the water, it might be diluted, it might be no harm, but that is their policy. They have to apply that one.
So I'm wondering whether the causality goes the other way on this. I mean, if I have knowledge, I'm more likely to mix it in with the feed, because that's actually going to be a better way of doing it. Whereas if I don't have knowledge, so I'm just wondering whether that last those variables about feeding actually reflect knowledge rather than going the other way in the causality. Anyway,
it's their. I would say it's not about the knowledge. I would say it's about their perception and assumption. Like they saw like how Pangas, eat their feed. So that's their like. Is sometimes in our country, like farmers are like, they are the scientists, they have their own knowledge, own perception. I would say it's kind of re-innovation. So whatever you tell them, they want to try to make it a little bit modulation, do it their own way. So, and they believe it will be good. And sometimes if you ask them to use like 5 kilogram of urea per square meter or something like that, they used to do like 7 or 8 or 10. They believe like it will make their plant more growing, more greener, but without thinking that there is some toxicity effect of that fertilizer that can impact their crops. So they are used to be more innovative, they are renovating their ideas and thoughts and try to implement in their own practice. So that's the thing, like extension should work more with them and tell them like what is the better way, better practice, better dose, and they should follow that, because nowadays it's a huge concern. Most oftenly we got the news from the TV channels and other places that certain antibiotics found in the poultry mass, in the fish, in the tannery. So it's kind of alarming to the people. And when that news has been published, the prices of this product has reduced significantly. So the vendors and the farmers, they also being loser because of those news and this kind of thing. So it happens a lot. Yes.
So the price has gone down, but it seems it's inexpensive for them. This is chemical anyway.
It is, sir. It is very expensive.
Yeah. So instead of just focusing on extension, shouldn't this seems to be quite serious because it has got consequence long term,
Yes, sir.
right?
Yeah.
So shouldn't this be treated a bit more seriously by whoever is regulating, like the environmental protection agency type thing, where the shop, the vendors should actually be asked to standardize how, like you put standards so that when they sell it, they don't just sell it just as quantity. It should be like so much per area or so much per pond. There needs to be something, like some kind of regulation.
Yes, sir. But problem is that, you know, we are a country with 167 million population, maybe right now 170 million population, and there is agencies, there is rules, there is laws, but no one follows that. Like there is no monitoring and regulatory authorities in practical life, in a true sense, you know, they should get this prescription from the Upajala Fisheries Office, like sub-district Upajala Fisheries Office, from the Upajala Fisheries officers, but no one cares. Like everyone is thinking about their benefit and interest. No one think about like you. There is no we feelings sometimes. It's only I. How can I get more money? How can I get, you know, generating more money? So even this is for fish. I do a research with the eggplants. So and I found like no one ever used any single pesticide for the eggplants. They used a mixture, a cocktail, like 17 or 18 pesticide. They mixed it together. Even sometimes they use DDT. It banned. They got it from the other places, put it back, mixed it, and spray in the field straight away. They spray in the morning, and at the afternoon they sell it to the market. And at night I buy it and I eat it. So this is the thing.
Yeah, I have seen long time farmers mixing DDT with maize, like because they think they are killing the beetles. So that's not surprising.
This is very alarming, sir. Very alarming. And if you publish this kind of study, sometimes the government will come and talk to you. Like one of my colleagues, he doing a study with the eggplants and talking about it got the carcinogen from the pesticide they're using in it. And the next day he was on the talk show, and there is two giant body on the talk show. He straight away insult that guy like, you can't publish this kind of things because it reducing the prices of the eggplants, and hundreds of thousands of the eggplant producers, they have been losing because of your findings. So these are the things. Instead of taking appropriate measures and, you know, like awarding people, they are just backfiring us. So this is kind of tricky thing that we have to handle every day over there as academia and researcher. And there is not enough fund to do the research. That is another issue.
The farmers read, right? Many of them have high school education.
Yes, sir.
So if something had been published like in a local newspaper, unlike farmers in many other parts of the world, the problem in other parts of the world is the farmers don't read. So even if you publish it everywhere, they are not going to know. Unless they listen to the radio and
radio and newspaper and
like these farmers read. They can read, right?
Yeah, they can read, sir. Yes, please.
I'm thinking about what Michael was talking about before too, about causality in the regression, and about how you're telling the story where at the end of the day, knowledge is going to affect better use of antibiotics. And I'm wondering, when you show your correlation, it's just not the one column, but I'm just thinking about all the different options you have, and you have a really small data set. Ideally, you could maybe set up like a path analysis where you say, you know, access to extension affects training in antibiotics, which affects knowledge, which affects use of antibiotics, kind of like establish that chain. But another thing you could do is just show the entire correlation matrix between all of these variables, rather than just with health. And that might actually help you tell that story to say, you know, people with access to extension are more likely to take the training. And you can kind of start joining those pieces together and tell that story if you maybe show the whole matrix.
I could, but due to the presentation, I thought that could be populated on my slides and it might not be readable. So I just got those things, but I had that matrix. And I'm writing this paper right now, so
I think that would
will
help
use
in the paper. I've seen other people with, when you have small data sets and there's only so much you can do, kind of using that correlation matrix to draw
the causal pattern. I would say kind of
path
path analysis that I should include.
Yeah. Good. Cool.
Yes, please.
So I'm just wondering how you elicit the information to measure the knowledge, factual knowledge, and like procedures, knowledge, how you ask the respondent. That's my first question.
Okay.
Second question is, I think from your result, you're saying that people have poor knowledge on, like factual knowledge is poor compared to the other knowledge like metacognitive or procedure knowledge.
Yeah.
Can you have some explanations?
There is 24 questions that we formulated, and we put 6 questions on each categories, and then we have to ask the farmers. Like, it's kind of open-ended question. For example, do you know what is antibiotics? Do you know what is gas reducers? Do you know how to use it? Do you know like what is the dose? So these are the different types of questions that we used based on our perception, and that interview schedule have been validated by the farmers through pilot study. So there was nothing in the literature, so that's the thing we have to prepare and validate to establish our findings.
My understanding is that for procedure knowledge, it's like farmer learning by doing. That's knowledge from like their experience doing with this fitting kind of fish.
Yeah.
But the factual knowledge comes from science, right?
Factual knowledge is very scientific. It's kind of terminology, precise description, basically means these kind of things are included in factual, and procedural knowledge like how to know, like how to do these things. This is kind of procedural knowledge.
That's what I mean. Like that's why I question the way you ask, because if you ask using terminology things, then when you come and ask farmer, they will say no, they don't know.
Yeah.
Because they ask in a way of scientific way, then then the result would be okay. Farmer has a poor knowledge.
It's not like the high-tech science, I would say. It's something very basic knowledge. Like, do you know what is antibiotics? Do you know what is gas reducers? Do you know how it, doing back to your health? Do you know, like, where can you purchase them? Do you know the dose of them? This is kind of very basic knowledge they should have to use, any technology. This is the very, like, if I give you a smartphone and you don't know how to use it, then there is no point to give you that smartphone. But you are using it, and then if I ask you, like, what is the smartphone, how it works, do you know how to operate this? Then I believe those questions are validated. And those are kind of, it can align with science, align with practice, align with your knowledge as well. So this is my, I'd say my philosophy to bring those points and ask those questions.
So
Do you clarify now, man?
when you ask the question,
Yes,
do you know the dose?
Yeah.
Do you ask that question, do you know the dose, or do you ask them, what is the
The
dose?
appropriate dose to use the antibiotics and gas reducers. Do you know that?
So what's the answer you expect to do? A yes, no, or a number?
And a number.
Okay, so it's not do you know?
Yeah, it's not like a double barrel.
It's what is the appropriate dose of. So what's the question?
Antibiotics, like certain antibiotics, certain gas reducers.
So what's the question you ask when you say, do you know what an antibiotic is?
Like
what's the correct? I couldn't answer that question.
Yeah, like if someone says like.
What's the correct answer to that question?
So to me, like if my farmers can tell me like antibiotics is certain chemicals that help you to keep away from the disease, certain bacterial disease. So that is my correct answer. If they say it's only help you to keep away from the disease, that is the partial answer. If they used to say no, I don't know what is antibiotics, they say, oh, it's a chemical. So that is kind of a very wrong answer to me. So it's very subjective answer, but the people who ask that question, he or she knows what are the correct answer and how frequently or precisely the farmers is aligned with those answers. So if I ask them like yes or no, then my findings would be very vague. and very broad, So I can like it's kind of like double barrel, and I can't make any conclusion. So that's why we came up an idea like, yes, these are the questions, these are our kind of correct answer, this is kind of partial correct, this is the wrong answer. Then we can go and ask to the farmers and respond. Like I collected data, one of my students collected the data, so we are very much like what should be our desired correct answer.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So my question might not be relevant to your study, but did you ask the effectiveness of antibiotics?
Effectiveness, no. I believe I didn't add that question because it's a different computer. If I bring my computer, then I can show you all the question I asked. Even I can show you the matrix. So yeah.
Because there might be issue of truth in labeling.
Yeah. And even all the antibiotics and gas reducers, they write the appropriate dose on the body of the bottle on the labels, but no one followed that one. No one. And we found a few chemicals have been come to my country. Those are not approved by the government. So it came from a different way. We are surrounded by India by three sides, Bangladesh, and our border is pretty much open. So whatever is India, we can have that. Whatever we ask, India might have them. So it's kind of thing.
But do they know the consequences of using antibiotics?
Very few. Very few. Like they don't know about the antibiotic resistance. They don't know how long term it can affect their health. They don't know. So they just think like, sorry.
Is there evidence of resistance appearing in the fish population?
Sorry, sir.
Is there evidence of antibiotic resistance appearing?
Yes, sir.
And is that being publicised amongst farmers to say, hey, look, you think this is great stuff, but you're about to lose it because you're going to actually overuse it?
Yeah. There is a few papers who have been found that antibiotics in fish, antibiotics existence in poultry, antibiotics existence in vegetables, certain vegetables. Not the antibiotics, the pesticide for the vegetables. Even in the fish body, they also found different kind of pesticides as well. During the food chain, it came to the water body, fish consumed them and deposited into their bones.
As a farmer, I may not care about residuals going out, because that's somebody else's problem.
You don't care.
But I might care about resistance. I mean, if you told me that, okay, you can do this, you're going to be great for a couple of years, and in 2 years' time, you're going to have completely resistant fish populations, I might be more willing to change my behaviour. It's going to affect me. Someone with that sort of different communication mode to say, I'm poor, I need income. It affects people who buy my product. Who cares about other people? But if you say it's going to affect you, your income is going to be, you're going to lose
in the long run.
In the long run, that might be a better.
I think DOF is doing that kind of fostering nowadays, but we are very developing stage of that kind of promotions, because we might be the first country in the world who is approved the transgenic eggplants in Bangladesh. So nowhere in the world PG brinjal is approved except Bangladesh. So our government and farmers are much more innovative to adopt any kind of technologies. So different things, many years back I made is like vicious circle, how each and everyone is losing themselves. So maybe you are the fish farmer, you are using antibiotics in your fish and you are selling to the eggplant farmers, and eggplant farmers also producing the eggplants with pesticides and he's selling to you. Then it goes to the rice farmers. At the same time, rice farmer bought this product from you and you bought rice from them. So no one is safe in that circle. So everyone is interlinked. I would say that is the vicious pesticide cycle. That's the thing, sir. But the problem, I would say the farmers, they might be aware, but it's not about the very small farmers. The greed comes from the very big farmers, especially who has the more power in the community. They don't care. Like whoever is the government officials or someone, they just don't care. Even they can, sometimes threaten the local Upajala fisheries office if they try to implement any kind of restriction on the sanctuary fishing during the off seasons. There is many clash, many fightings between the local community and the government agencies as well in certain times. Even last year, I just saw an image.
Okay, so based on what you said just a while ago, your sample farmers to represent, are they smallholders or those
okay,
big farmers?
the fish farmers who are doing the fish farming, they are usually they are kind of medium to high income. So high income like 400K BDT yearly, which means like if you can divide it by 70 or 75, so it around be how much? 4,000 AUD per year. And maybe the lower income, they've got like 1.5K annual income. They are the poor farmers. So this is the income level.
Okay.
But they process a lots of land because it requires a lots of land.
So they mainly produce for market or for own?
They produce it for market.
For market.
Every time.
Okay.
For market.
Okay. Maybe
and there is a few pineapple farmers in certain place of Bangladesh. The pineapple they produce, they never eat it.
Oh.
And for them, they made a small plot, made for their family consumption and for selling another big plot.
Okay.
So it's quite different, So I don't know, like whether those Pangas farmers have a small fish farm for their own consumption and bigger one for the selling.
So you are talking about system collapse.
Yes, sir, completely.
So this is happening also in agricultural extension?
No, nowadays DE is more working as a project-based organization. So they took huge number of projects. They're funded by the government or international agencies, and they only focused on the term of those projects, not for the as a whole picture, So if you ask him like why you don't aware people regarding this kind of problem, they will say we don't have any project to talk with these people this kind of object. They might have different project to implement maybe I would say increasing the Pangas fish production of certain upajala. They might work on that, but they might not have any project to aware people on certain antibiotics and gas reducers. So they won't take that initiative.
So if you watch the Bangladeshi main news channel like TV, what does it feel that they wish? Like
they are always bring the success stories. They always bring about the success stories. How big is your papaya? How big is your pangas? How big is your pumpkin? What are the new fruit crops that you have been introduced in this place? How much it will cost you? So the Miyazaki mango. This is a mango. That's the media said it's the most valuable mango in the world, and we have introduced in 2 years back. And every farmers now cut their previous mango plants and implemented the Miyazaki mango for production because they needs money. This kind of thing. There is a jujube. Bao jujube was very popular for my country for last 10 years. And last year I visited to my hometown, and I found that there is no bao jujube. So the new jujube is the apple jujube, or that is called ball shundari, like the ball beauty with jujube. It's a smaller one, so they cut down all the plants. They just replanted it because we have very beautiful soil. Whatever you put, it will produce some food. You don't need to put any water, any fertilizers or anything. It will give you some returns.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.